Guys, welcome back to another episode of Tall and Taller. And man, what a weekend it was last weekend. For the first time since 1995 through 1997, Michigan won three straight against the Buckeyes. We all know what happened that 97 season. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there was a lot of good things that came out of last Saturday. I mean, Ben, it was a close game, but really Michigan dominated that game in at least the leading factor. They never trailed. Um, I mean, really felt like we were in control of that game the whole time. Didn't really feel like, okay, hey, Ohio State's in control at all. Um, but I mean, all in all, to me, it was a great game. I mean, we'll get deep and I'll let you talk now about it. Are you even listening? I'm fucking telling you to talk.
So that's not what I got out of that, but
Well, I was trying to like let you roll over into it, but
yeah.
sorry.
So it was a great game. Like you said, we did close game back and forth. You and I both really thought that Ohio State was going to score on that last drive. I just had this feeling they were going to score a touchdown, miss the extra point. We're going to go to overtime, and then anything can happen. But even though it was a close game, it always felt like we were in control. Um, the is it now 22 games in a row? The team with the most rushing yards won, and
Yeah.
we won the turnover battle, and then just about any game, especially any Big Ten game, if you win the turnover battle and the rushing battle, I like your chances. So um, great team. It wasn't a dominant performance like it was the last 2 years, but I don't think that was a reflection of how we played, or I just think that they've closed the gap a little bit, and um, it was a great game. Great, you know, Blake Corum, all-time touchdown leader now. Um, season. I mean, sorry.
Oh, we have season wise. I was like, he's still behind Anthony Thomas by two for the rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, but most rushing touchdowns in a season, I should say. Um,
Yep.
JJ was sharp, 16 for 20 or something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
16 for 20, 148 and a touchdown, which that pass was insane.
dude, I thought, I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing? And he had done some tight windows like that a couple of games before, and I had said on the podcast, you're not going to be able to do that against Ohio State. But I don't know if you've seen this or not. He had said he was watching film on that 25, I think it was, and he never turns around and looks back, and that's why he launched it. And I mean, laser precision, great catch, but I don't know how he walked around with his balls that big, making that throw, but hell of a
Well,
throw.
yeah, no, I mean, and that's the type of throws that you can't, like you said, that you can't miss that throw an inch left or an inch right. You
Right,
have to throw that ball perfectly, and if you don't, it's either going to get intercepted or knocked down. That play doesn't count. I mean, that's a throw that we really haven't seen from a Michigan quarterback, and I couldn't tell you how long, making throws like that consistently
right,
every week. Um, but I mean, like shit. I mean, the biggest part to me had to have been the second half. I mean, the second half, first half was a good half. We were up what 14-10 at halftime. Um, but our offense like took a step, kind of exploded a little bit more in the second half. We ended up doubling our yardage. Went from 119 in the first half to 219 uh, in the second half in yardage wise. I mean, well, especially when you just double up like that in a half, that's huge. Period. No matter if it's against Ohio State or whoever you're playing.
right.
Um, but another thing which really turned the tide in this game was Blake Corum's 22-yard touchdown after Zach Zinner went down.
Yep.
One play after there was already a lot of during stuff like that. Usually gets stadiums really quiet, really, really like on edge of their seats, waiting to see what happened. But I mean, you've probably seen the videos of the "Let's Go Zach" chants while he was getting up, while he was on the ground. The whole stadium's chanting "Let's go Zach." Um, it kind of seemed because I think at that point we were tied at 17.
Yep.
I think,
I
and
believe so.
at that point, Ohio State had started to kind of gain the momentum back. They had a good
Yeah,
drive
that
the
was
drive
really the
before
only point in the game when they had it, but they did.
because they were able. I think it was like a 12 play drive where they were actually able to go down. They were one. I think it was 12 out of the or like 10 out of the 12 plays were rushes on that drive. It looked like a Michigan drive, like what Michigan does to teams, not what teams do to Michigan's defense, where they were able just to run the ball down our throats that drive. And you kind of think, well, is this where Ohio State takes over that rushing game and
And at
will
that
lead them
point, they were
winning?
leading the rushing, I believe.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I think it wasn't by much, but they were. Because I think we finished with like 156 and they finished with 107. I mean, but as soon where I was going with that was when Zach Zinner went down, it seemed to breathe life into the team, even though it sucks. Whether it was the fans that bred life, but uh, where the team was like, all right, we're going to do this for him, and doing it for everybody else. And that with Blake running it in first play um, was huge, and I think that was definitely probably the biggest turning point in the game.
Yeah, for sure. I thought they were. I still haven't seen the injury, but you could tell by the players' reaction that it wasn't good. Then they brought the Gator out onto the field, and there's guys with tears streaming down their face, and like you said, Ohio already had a little bit of momentum, anyways, and I really did not have. Uh, a great feeling about that because that's a momentum killer, especially when you're talking about senior, a captain, guys
Came
really
back
look up
just to
to
play
you.
in that game.
Yeah, and I just thought, man, this is not good. But the, the flip side of that is as soon as Blake broke that run, I thought, oh, okay, we're good, because of that. There's nothing like there's not a better way to steal momentum in a tight game like that um, against the thing.
um, Sorry about that, guys. Real quick, I'll take over while he has to be stepped away for a second. Um, I mean, we'll get into this. I mean, trick plays. One thing I want to talk about, even though he probably will, we'll probably get back to this. Um, Blake Corum in that game is now has second place all to himself. Um, only behind Anthony Thomas with 55. Blake has 53. Um, get into everything else a little bit. I mean, if you look at team stats comparisons, Ohio State really led majority of it. Um, Leads everything really, other than rushing yardage and a few little stats. But the biggest one they did lead in interceptions, and that was the huge part. First downs here, Michigan at 18, Ohio State at 21. Third down, on third down, Michigan was 3 for 12, Ohio State was 4 for 9. Um, and then for interception, and then for penalties was 3 for 34 for, and Ohio State was 1 for 5. But I'll let you get back to where you're at if you remember where you're at. I was just kind of filling in there.
No, there's no better way than to steal the momentum in a close rivalry game. Which, by the way, the only game, Matt Leinart put a post up on TikTok maybe 2 months ago talking about we were maybe the third biggest rivalry, and I put this post, and he basically told me to get the fuck out of here. This wasn't a bigger rivalry, but then. He talked. He talked about it on the Fox pregame, postgame. I don't know, and he said, "Hey, I was wrong. There's nothing better than this." So the numbers. I think there was 23 million was the most watching it at any time, and average like 19 something.
19-7. 19.7.
Basically 20 million, right? And
The Iron Bowl had like 9.8,
yeah, the
which was
next
the
highest
game directly at
was
us.
Tennessee, and they were at 10 million. So we doubled it. And the three highest watched games of the last 3 years are all Ohio State, Michigan. And don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, if we're not undefeated those last 3 years, and they're not undefeated the last 3 years, maybe they don't get quite that rating, but still, they are on it, and it's just it's a great rivalry.
No, yeah, it is. And speaking of what makes the rivalry great, um, which is the players, but not just the players, it's the people, especially for us, it's the people that come from the state of Ohio that come to Michigan because Ohio State doesn't want them. Can we talk about Rod Moore's performance? Not even just in this game. I know Rod Moore, over his career, has been a Buckeye killer.
Right,
He grew up an hour, like I said, he grew up an hour away from Columbus, didn't get any looks by Ohio State, anything like that. I mean, in 2021, he had 9 tackles in that game. So again, a great stat line. 2022 had 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 2 PBUs, and only allowed 8 yards of offense. And then this year, I mean, he had 5 tackles again. But the big one was the game-ending interception at the end of the game. I mean, yes, he had Mason Graham and Jalen Harrell got in there to put pressure, but I that just has to feel great for him to be like, hey, should have had me, motherfuckers.
right.
Um, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah, he didn't even get a look from them, and to a lesser extent, JJ. That's JJ grew up a Ohio State fan. Um, they wanted
Wanted to go to
him,
Ohio State. 100, like
right.
he
They
didn't want
wanted
to
him.
come to
He
Michigan.
wanted to be there, and they cooled off on him and picked up the heat on McCord. So they end up choosing McCord over him, which he gets a lot of hate from the Buckeyes. He reminds me of a step above Cade McNamara. Not generally going to hurt you. We made a couple picks on him, but it just. I'm glad we got who we got. It's kind of the bottom line.
Yeah, no, I am too. But I mean, real quick, I want to comment on your McCord thing. How you said he reminds you he's like a step above a comic. I don't think he. You want to know why I think he gets that? Why you say that? I think it says that because of the players that are around him. Like, Dad, I want how many of his total passing yards on Saturday went to Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Uh, Probably most of them.
That's one thing. I mean, when you got someone that athletic who you can just throw the ball up and be like, Marv's down there somewhere. I think having him around and even Abuka's still a great wide receiver. Um, I mean, we all know Ohio State has good receivers. Period. Not even just good, great receivers. Has for years. Um, but I think that's really why he looks as good as he does.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, um, Marvin is the most talented wide receiver since, man, I don't know, but I would say the last 8-10 years in college football. So he is, and I think he's better than Brennan was as a college player. But it, that was one of the things we were missing, and our receivers have been very good this year. But it would be nice to be able to guy that all you got to do is throw it up and he's going to go get it like Braylon did. That was the
That's
ultimate weapon
exactly
for us back then.
yeah.
What's that?
But that's exactly what Marv does, like you said.
Right.
Every single one of his catches that he had the other day were absolute. Just threw the ball up and was just hoping Marv would catch the ball, and he did, which that's what he gets paid to do. Well, not yeah, I mean, yes, I guess he does get paid to do that. But there is one thing I want to point out. I'm trying to get to the video of him. Is that he's kind of a little bitch. Um, let me pull it. I gotta pull up the highlights here. So if you got anything you want to say, um, um, Jesus, Texas is murdering Oklahoma State.
I know it. 35-14 at the half, I think.
It's 42-14 now. That's what I'm waiting to try to get this to pull up. So I'll say it right here. I'll pause it here. Hang on. Let me pull it up now. So on this play, which is Rod Moore's interception, you can see Marvin Harrison Jr. coming across, and you know where he's at. He pulls
just
up.
laid down. I know.
He pulls up.
Yeah.
Man, you in the game, bro. You can't do that. You have to go play defense. He stopped. He probably could have broke that up if he wouldn't have stopped.
And I think he could have caught the ball even.
He probably could have, but again,
watch it again. So you watch. He pulls his hands back.
I know. He does. He does want to know. It was 100% like, I don't want the contact.
Right.
And which again, don't blame the dude. Blame the dude. He's gonna make a lot of money at the upper level, and that's probably what he was like. I don't want to get hurt. But still, you can't do that in that game, especially in a close game like that. If I'm somebody on that team, on Ohio State's team, and I see that, or if I'm a fan for Ohio State, I'm losing my fucking mind.
Right.
Like, I don't know how much he makes in NIL deals. I'm gonna guess it's fucking some outstanding amount. But come on, man. Like, you can't do that in that game. If that would have been anyone in Michigan, I'd be like, what the fuck, dude? Even if you can't catch the football, you knock it down and give your team another shot.
You know, going back to what we said, right? Rivalry, biggest, if not the biggest game in the rivalry's history, one of them. Big Ten championship on the line, playoff spot on the line, because they're not getting in, and I don't think that even if we, last year there was a lot of talk that Michigan could lose in the conference championship and still get in, and I think we lose tonight and we're out.
Oh yeah, it's way too much. There's way too much. Well, it really depends on what goes on tonight, but
it couldn't have been a bigger moment, and for him to just lay down, I think it's all about, hey, I'm not ruining my $100 million payday over this, and I mean that's fair enough, but I a lot of the Buckeyes are still holding on, hoping they have a chance to make the playoffs, and I just don't see it. But
no, every playoff predictor that came out, Ohio State's not even in contention.
Right.
So it's just the way that the land is right now.
I think when it's announced that they're not, that he's going to announce, hey, I'm skipping the bowl game to get ready for the pros. And I understand that. If you were in that situation, I think I would advise you to do that. But man, do I hate it. Signed up to play.
No, I mean, exactly.
Like you said, I get it. I'm not bashing the kid at all, but I just, and I was just a high school athlete, right? I just could not ever imagine quitting on a play like that, and that's what he did.
Oh, 100%. And that's one thing I was going to say something else about it. Oh, I'll just say this. And like the fact that he quit and then sat on the field for, I think they counted 25 seconds where he just sat there.
Yeah.
Like, sat at that same spot. And I was like, why? Like, dude, you could have stopped that. And then, but it is what it is. Glad that he did it. I'll take that 100%. I'm very glad that he did it because it gave us the ball game.
Yeah, because the reality is, and I'm sure that you feel similarly, is that he was the only reason that I was concerned about this game to begin with. And he
was the only reason I was concerned on that drive because right away he caught like a 20-yard catch, and then they had that catch fumble play where Abuka just happened to be right there to catch it. Right. I mean, it's that drive was setting up for them to win the game, especially the way that fumble went.
Yep.
When that happened, that was when I was like, oh no, the football gods aren't on our side right now. They're counting that as a catch. It may or may not have been. It was close. But the fact that if it wasn't, it fumbled and it somehow went right to their player. I was like, great.
Here's what I think. If you're if you're rooting for Ohio State, that was a catch and a fumble. And if you were, I thought it was really close too. I actually didn't think it was a catch, but if I was a Michigan fan, I'd have been screaming that was a catch and a fumble recovery too. And had we recovered the ball, they'd have been screaming that wasn't a catch. That wasn't a catch. You know,
Oh yeah, no, and that's the thing. But that's just part of the sports, and that's just part
it
of.
is.
And I mean that's part of what makes sports good is just the argument banter between that. But I mean, I got. Let me look at my notes real quick. Um, but I mean, all in all, it was a successful Saturday. Um, like I said, first time in 3 years. Oh, real quick, two people want to talk about that were huge. Not even just in this game, but huge. Period for this season. Probably was the biggest question mark coming into this season. Was our special teams, our kickers.
Yep.
I want to give it up for fucking Tommy Doman and fucking James Turner. Those two have carried a load and came in with a lot of pull, not a lot of pull, with a lot of responsibility taking over for Jake Moody and what's his name? What's our punter from last year? It's easy. I think we've had this.
Yeah, I'm blank at the moment.
Well, I don't know. They both been drafted. Um,
Yep.
Brad Robbins. Didn't even have to
Yep.
look it up. Started looking it up and remember.
There
But
you
I
go.
mean, two, not even just great, but two amazing kickers who played at Michigan. Moody, Luza Garza. Um, but I think, in my opinion, I think without James Turner, we lose that game on Saturday. You think he went 3 for 3 on field goals, and really that last field goal was probably the biggest points of the season so far, to where they couldn't just get a field goal to tie it to send us to overtime. They had to go down and score. And I think James Turner said something. I think it was Inside Michigan Football had said he hadn't really had a pressure kick all season. But that was his first pressure kick where like, hey, do we need you to make this?
Right.
So I just want to give them a shout out and say thank God for them because they've been. I mean, even Tommy Doman has pinned two punts at like the 2 yard line when we needed it most the past 2 games. Um, but yes, I just wanted to shout out that. That was the last thing on my notes for this game. Um, but yeah, let's do offensive MVP and defensive MVP real quick, and then we will move on to tonight's game. Uh, offensive MVP. I know it's technically not offense, but I'm giving it to James Turner. 3 for 3 on field goals, especially that big kick. You could give it to Blake easily. Could give it to JJ for throws and keeping us in it. But I think without James Turner, we making those kicks, we lose that game.
Yeah,
Especially that
absolutely.
three.
You know that field goal right before half was huge. I believe that was a
Oh yeah,
career long for him. And yeah, I think if anytime anybody scores points, you know, not off a turnover, they're an offensive player. But I'm going to go with Blake because he broke the all-time season rushing town record, and he you know, after that, like we discussed, after that Zinter injury, he pretty much took it into his own hands and say, we're not losing this game. Here's 7. So
oh
for
yeah.
that reason, and for a great career, my favorite running back since Mike Hart. I don't think he tops Hart, but he brings me a natty. He will. Um,
Maybe not yardage wise, but fuck, man, his touchdowns.
yeah, Mike Hart. So I think a lot of it was schematics, you know, scheme. I think that uh, you know, that's why they didn't rush as much this year. Plus, everybody knows that hey, you're running the ball, so they're a focus. But Mike Hart was a lot more consistent, I think. And you know, again, I don't think it was necessarily Blake's fault. Um, and your memory kind of always treats things a little bit kinder than they used to be. Maybe if I went back and watched some film, Mike, I would say no, Blake's got him. But Mike Hart's probably always going to be my number one, just like Desmond Howard's going to be up there, and Chuck Woodson's going to be up there. Um, so, anyways, Blake Corum.
Yes, sir. Now, defensive wise, I think it's easy for me. I got Rod Moore just because of his interception. Could go Will Johnson for his early interception to
Yep.
kind of give us some momentum. But I roll with Rod Moore just because of the game stealing interception.
Yeah, Rod Moore for me too seals the game, right? Called game, like he said. I called game. I couldn't believe that it happened. Honorable mention to Junior Colson, 11
Yeah.
tackles, 7 solo. Um, great deal. And Mason Graham had a solid game too with just 2 tackles but 1 sack. But he got a lot of pressure on McCord. He's a beast. I'm glad to see him coming back one more year, but that's
Everything all right over there? Everything all right?
yeah. I don't. Was that me? Must have been an ESPN again.
Yeah,
Must have been ESPN again. I had that up looking at stats.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. But yeah, I mean, again, just real quick, we recap again. Michigan wins that game, 30-24. But main thing is tonight we moved on to tonight's game. The Wolverines heading to Indy, seeking his 3rd consecutive outright Big Ten championship, which would be the first time in program history for the program to get 3 straight outright conference titles. It'd be a 45th Big Ten championship overall. We're taking on Iowa, who this will be the 64th meeting between us. We held a 44-15-4 edge of the series, won 15 of the last 23 games against them. Most recently in 2022, we won 27-14. But I mean, they got a great defense. I'll start there. Great defense and great special teams at that. It's gonna could be a dogfight, could not be. I guess it really just depends on how we're able to move the ball. I mean, looking at player comparison, we'll look at quarterbacks wise. God, their offense is bad. I mean, JJ McCarthy, 191. JJ McCarthy 191 for 257 for 2,483 yards, 19 and 4 touchdown interception ratio. Then Deacon Hill was, dude, how this quarterback's like 6'4", 240 or some shit like that.
Yeah, he's crazy.
He's like a Ben Roethlisberger. He's 97 for 201, 976 yards, five touchdowns, a 6 interception ratio. I mean, I don't even know why I have the offense pulled up because Iowa has very little offense, if any at all. But I mean, there's good things about Iowa. Like I said, the defense. I got 3 keys, at least on my side, that I think keys to a Michigan win today. The first one is they're going to have to get out to a lead early. You can't let Iowa hang around because if we score, and we can get out 7-0 early, I think our defense can hold that offense to very little points. Where if maybe we don't get an early lead, and they go down and score first, we might lose confidence. Their defense gains more confidence of being up. I think that's when we can get into trouble. Is on that aspect. I think we got to keep Iowa behind the chains on the offensive side of the ball because I think the farther back they are on the chains, obviously, just like anyone really, it helps out. And we can't allow Iowa special teams to beat us. I mean, their punter is a great punter, gets the ball inside the 10-yard line on a regular basis on punts. So I think when that does happen, because it's going to happen where he does get it there, we're going to have to show that we can get the ball out of there and move it because we can't let them try to win the field position game either. And on the other side where we're kicking, you can't let Cooper DeJean, which let him get loose on the other side and take some back to the house without for non-offensive touchdowns. And that's the
Right.
thing. That's my three keys: is get out to an early lead, keep Iowa behind the chains, and don't allow Iowa to win on special teams.
And that's a solid recipe for success in just about anything.
In
But
any game,
I do think this is going to be a dogfight today. Um, I'm thinking like 17-10, 21-10. I think it's hilarious though because I've never ever seen this before. Is that the over under for Iowa's points is a half a point. So Vegas is thinking we're going to shut them out, and we might, but I can see a game where maybe we have 3 or 4 field goals and no touchdowns. As long as we can, their offense isn't very good, right? Their defense is good. Their special teams is excellent, and to me, the biggest thing is I think they have the #1 rushing defense in the country now. That doesn't scare me because
so
we
did
were
Penn
able to
State.
on Iowa. We were able to run the ball on Ohio State, Penn State and Ohio State. But I can see it as a old school ground game, and um, I do think we'll pull it out, but I don't think it's going to be comfortable at all. And on the flip side of that, I would not be surprised to see us air it out and jump ahead on them because um, they can't seem to stop that. But they haven't. I think their last 5 opponents haven't scored more than 14, if I remember right.
Well, they've all heavy. I mean, their last 4 opponents aren't.
And that's fair enough, but they have been. I believe this is a better Iowa team than the one we seen 2 years ago by quite a bit, and I think that we're also the better team. But uh, I don't think we're gonna lose, but I just have this knot in my stomach that it's gonna be a ground and pound, nerve-wracking game. And
Yeah, and I mean,
as much as you and I have bitched all year about this is boring to watch, I would much rather it be a 72-0 game.
no, I agree, and I mean, I think I'm on kind of on the same page with you, but I think it'll be close in the first half, and I think the second half we take off. Um, I think at
That's
like
been
halftime.
kind of our calling card, right?
No, yeah, and it has been for what 3 years now.
Yep.
But I mean, like we said, you're right. Iowa hasn't given up more than 13, 14 more. I can give more than 13 points in the past 5 games. Um, their opponents during that time frame have been Minnesota, Northwestern, Rutgers, Illinois, Nebraska. Which hold up real quick. No, we're getting off topic. How about Northwestern? Bowl eligible after I
Yep.
think I had them predicted finishing with 1 win all season or something. I think we
Yeah,
both did.
Pat Fitzgerald, I always thought he did an exceptional job at Northwestern because one of the fewer schools in the Big Ten and the country for that matter who has tighter admissions and a lot less leeway to get these guys in. Fighting an uphill battle all the way. Truly an academic school like us, but again, I think their standards are even higher, which says a lot. But also, and I can't even remember the little fuck's name, but Indiana's new coach, James Madison University. And I get he's playing to the crowd, right? But dude, be careful what you wish for. You can say fuck Purdue all you want, but fuck Michigan and fuck Ohio State.
Ohio State, buddy.
You're about to get a Honda put on you twice in a row, and they play us back to back to back next year.
And listen, so that's one thing. I said 2020 season, it happened. Yes, it happened. We lost to Indiana. But you take that, so Indiana's beat us once out of like 27 seasons, and it was in 2020.
Right.
They haven't beat Ohio State in like 28 seasons or some shit like that. Come on, man. Know your place. I mean, I know what he's doing. Did you see what he said on the Big Ten championship? He was on the Big Ten. I tweeted retweeted it last night,
I did not.
and so he was on the pregame show, not pregame, but like last night's show. They were all the show Big Ten. I think it was Big Ten today, but they were at Lucas Oil, and he said I had to come on here because we're gonna fucking be here next year. And I'm like, buddy, he ain't one. Hold up, one. There's no more divisions next year,
Right.
so have fun with that. And two, even if there was divisions, you're in the East.
Right, and I was just getting ready to say, hey, you're not in the West, buddy, unless something's changed. I know I forgot about the divisions going away next year, but yeah.
You got Oregon,
and again, we both
Washington,
get what he's
USC.
doing, right? He's pandering to the crowd and to his players, and he got what he wanted. The place went nuts, right? And if I was an Indiana fan and I was there, I went nuts too because that's what you want to hear. But why don't you wait till you get rid of the walker, get rid of the training wheels before you start making big proclamations like that? Because, and I don't like Ryan Day at all, and I got very little respect for him. But as far as the Big Ten goes, Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day are the top two guys you do not want to get fired up, right?
Well, yeah, no, I mean with Ryan, Ryan Day hasn't lost a game against a Big Ten team other than Michigan.
Right. So, and Jim Harbaugh has some restraint in running up the score. He will get up enough and then run the ball. Right. And but we could have scored 70 easy that game.
Yeah, no,
it could have been worse.
It was a nice run up in that game.
Right.
But.
And Ryan Day's not like that. He will score 100 on him if he can.
Well, I mean, he said he's going to score 100 against us. This is now after 3 games. He's only at 75 points.
Still not there. 3 games later. That's his little brother comment. That come back and bite us in the ass. D'Antonio went on a run. But yeah, whatever. But anyways, we got off topic. We went down the rabbit hole a little bit, but I thought that was amusing.
It was.
Their new coach blasted out with that.
I real quick. I guess we'll stay off topic real quick. I don't know if you read whatever the coach Jonathan Smith, the one that Michigan State just hired from Oregon State.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read like his little thing on Twitter, his like picture, and then he had like a quote that he said, "Oh, I'm so happy to be here." Blah blah blah. Well, at the end, he said, "We will do everything in this program right," and like right or something like that. Like taking a shot at Michigan in a way. Like no lie, I got to look it up because I was like, "Bro, you gotta be kidding me." I was like, "Dude, you ain't been here 30 seconds. You're already taking a shot at us."
Right, and bro,
like, we'll do everything by the book and for the book. We will do everything with integrity and all that. I was like, bro, you're asking for it.
Already. Yeah, so somebody that doesn't know the situation, right? And again, he's pandering to his fans. Yes. But bro, you had a losing record at Oregon State. Just by 1 game, but you still had it. You think you're gonna come here and run shit?
You talking about that season? Oregon State was like 9-3. Oregon State was like 9-3.
No, overall, he was there 4 years or something. He's 34 and 35, and he has had a winning record. I think he's there 5 years. The last 2 years, and he got better every year. And I'm not really trying to take a shot at him, but if you're going to take a shot, this is the big boy. This is big boy football. The Big Ten and the SEC are the two best and most powerful conferences in football. You just shut up, man. Come and win a game. Then if you beat us, talk your shit. But shut the fuck up.
And again, I'll say this right off the bat. The first thing is with that hire, I don't think it's gonna go good for him. Just like this, I feel the same way about him as I do about Mel Tucker when they got hired. Team coaches that come from the Pac-12 can't coach in the Big Ten. They don't believe in fucking defense. And you have to have defense in the Big Ten to win football games. We all know that. Especially to beat the top dogs like Michigan, Ohio State. And I mean, now you got Oregon and Washington. There's really, I don't. Oregon's probably the only one next year, in my opinion, that can come in and compete, just because their offense is good enough to compete without a defense. Washington's not going to have what they had this year, um, but I mean, we'll see that when we get there. And I know we're way down the rabbit hole, right? Um,
Yeah, like I said, go ahead and talk your shit, but come on, dude. Know your place at the table too.
oh yeah. Real quick, back to the Michigan Iowa game tonight. Score prediction, and we'll close out that one and move on.
17-10. 17-10 Michigan.
Okay. I got 35-6. I think it's like a 13-6 at halftime, and Michigan pulls away in the second half. It's kind of the same way they did back in 2021. I mean, that's kind of just a feeling I had, where it'll be a stressful first half.
And real quick, I'm gonna go back down that rabbit hole real quick. Is that Jonathan Smith, Michigan State's head coach, is that I don't think he's a Mel Tucker type hire. Maybe he turns out to be. I think he's a Brady Hope type guy, and I think that Michigan State is probably a good spot for him. But I don't think he realizes how far they are down, and I don't think he's a Nick Saban and Urban Meyer where he can come in and quick turn around. Jim Harbaugh's a hell of a football coach and got a lot of heat from just about everybody. And, it took him, 5 years to get the program turned around. And as much as Michigan State wants to think that they're on our level financially and stuff, they're not. They don't have the facilities that we have. They don't have the boosters that we have. So it's funny because, when they, Matasheba and I forget who else it was, Magic Johnson, there was 3 of them that pitched in that $95 million for Tucker. They're like, nobody's got money like us. Shut the fuck up. But anyways, I just don't think that program, D'Antonio did that program dirty when he left, and Tucker didn't do anything for him. Robbed the transfer portal and got
carried by a running back.
Right, got very fortunate to score Walker, but I think it's 3 to 5 years before they're even competitive again, and longer than that before they're a threat. And not to say they couldn't beat us, because the whole rivalry thing, I think for the most part you can throw the records out. But yeah. Anyways, on to pick'ems, I guess. Huh?
No, yeah, you're good. All right, no, not yet, because I do want to talk about this. Did you see that game day pick? So Dez and Kurt picked Michigan tonight, but Pat and then fucking Theo Vaughn, which I don't really care about either Pat or Theo. Did you see Lee Corso pick Iowa to win tonight?
Really?
He's fucking losing it, man.
So I seen your post about Corso losing it, and I forgot to go dig into what
that was. Yeah, Kurt Street has posted that. Watch that video. It's actually pretty fucking funny because Kurt takes the phone and laughs in the phone. It's like.
So I do think they have a better chance to beat us than they did 2 years ago, but I just like I've said a few times, I think it's going to be a close game where we're on the edge of our seats. But something that I haven't talked about enough, anyways, is that this team has been through it, right? They've been through war, they've been through the trenches, and they're not going to get rattled. So. Even if it is a tight game in the second half, late in the fourth quarter, they've been there before and they know what it takes. And I'm not sure that Iowa does. And at the very least, I think that's the difference.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, like you said, the experience and definitely. We'll see. Of course, we have 4 more hours. But yeah, we're moving to pick'ems now. See what happens. Great. Now you got me stressing. Come on. I was feeling good about this game, but now you're making me think otherwise. So nothing's changed. I mean, it's we're still at. We haven't did pick'ems in a minute. 73 and 37, 63 and 47. Going in, we both picked Texas in the Big 12 championship game. Not sure what the score was, um, but last time we moved Texas up 42-14. Miami of Ohio versus Toledo. That game is at 5 minutes left. Toledo is up 14-6. Both. Oh no, Toledo's down 14-16. 16-14 Miami, Ohio right now. I know we both picked Toledo in that one.
49-21 Texas OSU.
Okay. Shoot, I did not just. You hear me? You hear me?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. You cut out, and I don't know if it was mine because from the weather or what. But I heard what you said in the score. But can you imagine if Ohio State had a quarterback like that Texas quarterback?
Right. Buckeyes think Arch Manning's coming next year. I don't see it, but
Well, I'm just saying because Quinn Ewers was at Ohio State.
right. No, I know what you're saying.
That's why I love that. I love that. And fuck Ohio. And they get stuck with Connor McCord or whatever.
Took their money and ran.
Oh, took their money hard. Mountain West Championship game, which starts here, I think, in like 4 minutes. Boise State, UNLV. Team that we've seen this year in UNLV finished 9-30. I don't even have my picks picked up open. This game, I took UNLV more just because I want to see them win. So they have 10 wins on the season. We have another, honestly, quality win in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I got UNLV as well.
SEC championship game. I think it's going to be a battle. Number 1 Georgia versus number 8 Alabama. Who you got there, Killer?
I'm going to go Georgia. I wouldn't be shocked if Bama beat them, and really I want that to happen because I'd like to see what happens. I think probably Washington's the one that gets screwed in that scenario, because they're not going to leave an SEC team out, but Georgia.
I think Washington's in either way.
I don't think so.
Because then they would move up to 2. Because we would move up to 1. Or Washington jumps us some fucking magic.
So we're in, right? Texas is in that scenario. Bama's in that scenario.
Florida State wins.
Huh?
Not a Florida State.
Florida State, Washington's sitting out looking in, I think. But again, like I said, it'd be interesting to see what happens.
No way. Washington's a lock at this rate.
I don't believe that.
Anyways, I'm rolling with the Tide tonight. I can't fucking stand Roll Tide fans, but I also want to see Georgia fucking lose. And I want Michigan to have the 1 seed so they play in the fucking Sugar Bowl. And I can drive an hour down the road just to go watch them play. Anyways, Bama by 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns even. So if it's less than 2, that counts as a loss?
No. If you want, we can restart everything from this season and run that way. We can do that next season, where we pick how much they're going to win by. We can do spreads.
No, I like
just straight up
real time.
Yeah. So SMU Tulane game is down in New Orleans today for the American Championship. I'm rolling with Tulane.
Tulane.
Man, I didn't say that because of your pick. I said that because I hit a button on my computer that just froze it for a second. Next one, App State versus Troy in the Sun Belt. Who you got?
Troy.
And I'm rolling with App State on this one. I want to see them win the Sun Belt Conference and see what happens there. But we already picked the Big Ten Championship. I threw it in there because we missed a few last night, so it'll count. Obviously, both picked Michigan. I figured we would. So, and then to close it off, the ACC Championship, number 14 Louisville versus number 4 Florida State. I'm rocking with the Cardinals. I think Florida State's quarterback is backup quarterback to Jordan Travis is now under a concussion protocol, and he's questionable for tonight. I was rolling with Louisville tonight, anyways. Um, yeah, I'm gonna roll Louisville.
I did not know he was in concussion protocol. I'll go with Louisville too. I was kind of going back and forth with myself, anyways, but that seals it for me.
And like I said, I haven't looked it up again today. Um, but last night I was watching I don't know, some sport. Oh, I think it was after the Oregon State game. They were at halftime. They were talking about it where he was under concussion protocol, and they weren't sure if he was going to be able to play today. Um, so I mean that's I was on Louisville either way. Um, so I shouldn't have said that and let you pick fucking.
Well, I may have picked them anyways. That was really the only one where I had some indecisiveness. What was that game? Everything else I was pretty confident in. Um,
The only the one that I was like with my pick was that Texas Oklahoma game, Oklahoma State game. And I was
yeah,
like,
but
thank
you know what? To a lesser extent,
God.
that one because I thought about picking OSU when you texted me, but
I was like, man, I'm so happy I didn't because I almost was like, oh yeah, they're definitely gonna pull this off. Like Texas is good, but Texas is not good. Where Oklahoma State can't play with them because I mean, look at Texas's games. They've a lot of close games against really bad teams this season.
yeah. And
And but
so
I'm
I
glad I
also
did.
want to back up on that Washington thing because if he's still in concussion protocol, second string quarterback, I think OSU gets left out and Washington's in.
I don't. I think
Yeah,
if it,
if
out of the
Georgia
teams that are
loses.
in the top, yeah, yeah, I think either way. If Florida State, Washington won last night, if Florida State, us, and Washington won last night, all undefeated teams, I think all three of those teams are locks. There's no way they put two SEC teams over an undefeated team. One loss. It's going to have to be either Alabama or Georgia. Not an undefeated team does not get left out of the playoffs
So
unless it's like
I think
obviously
it could
unless
happen
it's like
if Bama loses. So if everybody wins out, I think it goes out at six: Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State. And maybe if Florida State looks really well because Oregon started off hot, right, and ended up being I think a 3-point game is what it ended up being. Maybe FSU jumps Washington, but if everybody wins out, but I think if Bama wins, it goes a little bit crazy.
yeah. We'll see. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of roads that can make this absolutely insane. The last top four, um, but I mean, while we're at it, I mean, give me the top four you think are going to be there. Come tomorrow
Um,
at noon, at the selection show, who's going to be there?
well, I don't know the scenario.
You got to guess. What's your guess? What's your prediction that you think will happen?
My
Who do
prediction
you think will be top
is
four?
chalk. Yep. What
Chalk.
it is right now: Georgia, Michigan,
One, two,
Washington,
three,
Florida
four.
State.
Same.
Yep.
Okay. Mine's a little different, especially off of our predictions. With me having Louisville winning and Alabama beating Georgia. Um, so I had Michigan 1, Washington 2, and I have Alabama coming in at 3 and Georgia coming in at 4.
You
So it
just
makes
got
the
done
Michigan
saying there's
Georgia.
no way two SEC teams are getting in, but you
If
got to make.
if Florida if Florida State wins, I don't have Florida State winning.
Okay. Watch your
If Florida
attitude.
State wins,
I'll beat the fuck out of you.
if Florida State wins, then no, there's no way. If Florida State and Michigan win, no way. Whoever wins that game makes it to the end of the
Okay.
playoffs.
Who's your four if Bama wins and Florida State loses?
That is my four, but I just told you Michigan, Washington, Alabama, Georgia.
So you think okay?
Michigan goes 1, Washington 2, Bama 3, Georgia 4. Like I
And
said, there's so many.
undefeated Washington gets left out in that scenario.
No, I just told you. I Washington. It's Michigan, Washington, Alabama, Georgia.
Okay, I misheard you.
No,
Okay.
that's the way it would go if Florida State loses and Alabama beats Georgia. 100%. I don't see any other way it could go.
I think Texas
Texas
makes
fans.
it in above Washington if that happens.
No way.
How can you say the team that Bama gets in, but the team that Bama beat?
Because Bama has a conference championship, and
Yeah,
it has an SEC conference, not just a fucking stupid little Big 12.
right. We'll see. It's
No way.
gonna be
And they beat and Alabama beat the two-time defending national champions. Yeah, no, there's no argument.
And Texas beat them.
Like week 3, okay. Listen, I'll go back on this real quick. I did want to talk about this. I'm glad you brought this up before we get into something real quick new this week. So with that, I remember how much shit we were talking about Nick Saban and all this shit like week 5. Whatever the fuck he did with that team this season, I'm scared to play them, honestly. That's like the last team I want to play this year in the playoffs. I'd rather play Georgia.
Me too.
That team, he's got them looking like the Alabamas from the past 20, 15 years, whatever.
Yep.
But all right, this is something cool I kind of decided to do this week. It's called, I said throw it in, and I'll just do a quick Detroit sports minute. Just read off some real highlights. I got a nice little thing written up. Comment anything you want afterwards. So we'll start with the embarrassment of Detroit, and that is the Detroit Pistons sitting at 2-17 for the season and on a 16-game losing streak, as apparently they celebrated no win November. Now onto the Tigers. The Tigers have begun to make moves as they sign Kenta Medea, who has been a pretty reliable relieving pitcher. Majority of his career, but we've seen the Tigers sign a lot of reliable players in the past, and they have not been reliable when they've came to Detroit and played with Detroit. Austin Meadows, thank God he is gone. Now, on the brighter side of what is Detroit sports, the Red Wings are sitting at 12-7-3 and third in the Atlantic Division. They've won 4 of the last 5 since returning from a rough stretch in Sweden. To add to success, Yzerman signs Patrick Kane to the roster, which is a good sign in my opinion, to add to this young team, give him kind of a veteran aspect to it. Now the Lions are coming off an embarrassment of a game on Thanksgiving, yet they sit at 8-3 and sit in first place in the NFC North, pretty much holding their own destiny in that division. Will they be able to bounce back this week in New Orleans? We shall see. As the Superdome is a tough place to play. Go Saints. Yeah, that's the Detroit Sports Minute.
Yeah, Red Wings look good. I like that Kane signing too. Coming off some stuff, getting up there. I don't know how much he's going to bring to us, but I think it was worth a shot, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, if anything, he brings veteran status to the team and leadership.
Right.
To a very young team. I think other than Larkin's been in the league by far the longest on the team. But yeah, that's all I got for the show this week. You got anything else?
I don't believe so. Hail.
Big hail. Oh, Jimmy's back.
Jimmy's back.
So, but yeah, guys. So I hope you all have a great weekend. Share. I'll get all these out here hopefully within the next hour on everything. As always, guys, go blue.
Once again.